UFC Fight Night Kansas City, Garry versus Prates was this past weekend. I'm going to be giving my entire breakdown and recap of the entire card, starting from the prelim all the way to the main event, and we are going to start with the first fight of the night, Chelsea Chandler, 14th ranked strawweight in the world, Chelsea Chandler, versus Jocelyn Edwards. Jocelyn Edwards brutally slept her. Sorry, I'm texting my girlfriend. She just responded to me about a free donut I got. It was pretty fire. I was like delivering food and stuff. You know, I'm college, I'm broke, so. And they gave me a free donut. It was pretty cool. And it was a really good donut. Like, it was a really fucking good donut. It was gourmet. It was gas as fuck. Not exactly where I thought this video would be going, but as I get to the UFC app, might as well just chat fucking shit with you guys. This card was good. It was a good card. Yeah, there were some fun ones. But let's start. Jocelyn Edwards KOs Chelsea Chandler in the first round. Shocking for the first fight of the night. But Chelsea Chandler did not look that good, to be brutally honest. Jocelyn Edwards just showed a striking advantage. And she was just doing more. And she eventually just got Chelsea Chandler kind of up against the cage and would just fire away a flurry. And she landed something. And it got Chelsea Chandler down. She went down. She sunk down to the canvas. Easy KO win for Jocelyn Edwards. She's going to be in the rankings now at strawweight. Wow. What a goat. Jocelyn Edwards. Sorry, let me take my keys out of my pocket. Just got back. Yeah, good win from Jocelyn Edwards. Moving up the card. Timmy Kawamba versus Roberto Romero. So, I believe I went 10-4 on picks today. Yeah, I went 10-4 on picks yesterday. Not bad. I had a good day on picks. We'll get to some fights that I believe should have went my way, but we'll see. Timmy Kawamba, Roberto Romero. Now, Roberto Romero was doing well. He was being more aggressive, but he was a little sloppy on the feet, you can't lie, and he was sloppy in terms of defense. He wasn't really defending very well, and Timmy Kawamba was just able to do a little bit of the more clean work, and, he caught Roberto Romero kind of diving in for himself, and he caught him with a flying knee up the middle, and, Romero was definitely still in it, but when you get caught with a flying knee like that, what else is the ref going to think? That was a really good knee landed by Timmy Kawamba. And, Romero was still with it, but he was hurt and he was rocked. And, if that fight went another another 10 seconds, maybe Kawamba lands more strikes and Romero ends up out. So, good win from Timmy Kawamba. Impressive. He looked all right. Neither of these guys are going to be, the next great in their division, but Romero's probably going to get cut after that performance. Even though it was a close fight, he's 0-2 now, stepped up on short notice for his last fight. He's probably going to get cut. But we'll see, Good win from Timmy Kawamba. Good knee up the middle. He looked sharp. Moving up the card, Jacqueline Amorim versus Polyana Viana. Jacqueline Amorim won this fight by submission. We had 4 straight finishes to open up this card. It's actually fucking awesome. But, Polyana Viana just looked terrible. She just refused to, really put in effort in a fight. And, neither of the women had much for each other on the feet. They were both just kind of barely able to hurt their opponent. So I've got the Knicks Pistons Game 4 on in the background on my TV. I'm not going to be watching it during this video, but I do have it on in case. But Jacqueline Amorim, easy ground control. She was just, laying on her in half guard for a lot of it. And she was able, she had the back twice of Polyana Viana before she got the submission. So, great win from Jacqueline Amorim. She looked good, showed more finishing ability. That's what you need to show in the UFC. And, I'm sure she'll be ranked coming here into strawweight, and maybe match her up with Jocelyn Edwards. They're right on the card, same card, around the same area in the division. Maybe match them up. But yeah, Polyana Viana should just honestly retire. she got a couple wins in the UFC, showed that she can be ranked level, and then stopped trying, got a, tit surgery, goes around, hanging out with fighters. And yeah, Jacqueline Amorum's actually taking her career seriously. She's 10-1 now, back-to-back submission wins. Huge for Jacqueline Amorum, and yeah, she's gonna be interesting looking at strawweight now. Polyana Viana, she should probably just leave the UFC, honestly, and just focus on her OnlyFans career. Moving up on the card, Malcolm Wallmaker versus Cameron Simon. Okay, so Wallmaker proved me right. I predicted Malcolm Wallmaker because I do think that he is a hyped-up prospect, and I do think that he is a legit guy, and he is. He showed that. But Simon didn't look bad. He looked good, and he's been thrown to the wolves a little bit here by the UFC. I mean, he's gotten such hard matchups recently, and Wallmaker showed a lot of ability here. And I just saw he got the 50K bonus, and so he said if he gets the 50K bonus, he would quit his job on Monday. So he got the 50K, so let's go Malcolm Wallmaker. Full-time prospect now. This dude's actually going to be legit, too, so hopefully he can get back in there soon. It was 2 minutes. I mean, it was really nice if we want to break down the fight. Cameron Simon, he was backing up. He was on the back foot a lot and, just trying to beat him at his game. I mean, that's exactly what Simon was doing. He was winning at his pace where he wanted the fight. He wanted to be on the back foot, but then he catches you coming in, and he still initiates first, but still gets on the back foot. Like, he's kind of like Vulcan that way in terms of just doing that tendency, but he's not similar in terms of style. He's a little bit sloppy, but so is Dricus. But Cameron Simon, his chin is showing issues at this point in the UFC. The Peyton Tabit fight, you were more like, oh, well, Peyton Tabit's so good. And then he gets fraud checked by Houndy Barcelos. And, we're still like, well, it's Peyton Tabit, and Peyton Tabit's a really good striker. But then and he got dropped multiple times in that fight. But then there's this fight, too, where now he gets slept really bad by a counter hook. It was one shot. I mean, he kind of came in on like a lazy 1-2. He kind of threw out the jab and threw like a little bit of a sloppy right behind it. Wasn't super aware defensively. And Wallmaker just slipped out of the way and caught him with a counter hook, his right hook, and put Simon out cold. He went to the canvas, and you could tell he was out. I mean, his chin is showing issues at this point. So Cameron Simon is going to have to work on some things if he stays in the UFC. I really hope he does. He's only 24 years old. If this is the end of his first run in the UFC, it won't be the end of his UFC career. I can guarantee you that. He will be back in the UFC at some point if he does get cut, but I don't think he will. I don't think he should. He should stay in the UFC, and they should just kind of give him a reset. Start back at the bottom, build his way back up. I think that's what he's got to do at this point. Not fight, a highly touted prospect. Because it's not like he's fighting some Dana White Contender Series guy who, he's not fighting one of the guys who got completely fraud checked earlier this year multiple times. He's fighting a guy who's like a highly touted, well-known, interesting prospect with high-level striking ability. And he got put out. So, great performance from Malcolm Wallmaker. Hopefully he gets back in there in the summer. Maybe get him on the International Fight Week card if you still have room on it. I mean, get him on the early prelims against a better opponent. Build his way up. He can be 2-0 by June. Push him. He's 30. This is his prime. He's 9-0. He just won by 2-minute knockout. Get him back in there, all right? He's going to be healthy. He's quitting his job. Get him right back into a fight camp. Cameron Simon needs to take a while off again. I would take off until at least December of this year, maybe January, February of next year, if he stays in the UFC, but we'll see. Hopefully he does, but you never know. Moving up the card. Damon Blackshear versus Alan Tangley. Alan Tangley. Blackshear looked great in this fight. On the feet, man, he was looking great. And especially in the first round, his leg kicks had a lot of heat on them. He was rolling with the shots well coming from Alan Tong. God, I'm so, like, embarrassed that I can't even fucking say his name, because I feel bad, because it was a good fight. Blackshear looked a lot better in this performance than he did in his last fight. Yeah, like I said, his striking was good. He was rolling with shots a little bit more. His leg kicks had a lot on them. He was firing away on the kicks. He was landing well in boxing exchanges too. First round, he was doing really well. Heli Alateng couldn't get on the inside. I think that's actually how you say his name. He couldn't get on the inside at all in the first round. He was whiffing on a lot of shots coming really close. He was trying to get the jab right hand going, which he did get, like the overhand right. He tried to get that going in the second round. He did. He was able to land it a few more times, but in the third, Blackshear got back to his groove, rolling with the shots, getting away from it. And, and he won pretty convincingly. It was a pretty clear 3-round decision. He looked really good. And they were calling for a numbered opponent, a ranked opponent. I agree. I think Blackshear's ready for that. His only 2 losses in the UFC, I believe, his 2 notable ones are to Mario Bautista on short notice, close fight, and then Montel Jackson put him out early. Montel Jackson has a lot of talent. That happens. I think an older ranked bantamweight would be good for Blackshear. Also, or just a high level unranked guy would be very good for Blackshear at this point in his career, but he definitely deserves a good opponent coming up, I think, late this year. Heli Alateng, he didn't look bad. He was just coming up short with a lot of his shots. The height disadvantage was major. You could tell Blackshear was a lot bigger than Alateng, and he just wasn't really able to get Blackshear where he wanted him. He was just kind of stuck. We'll get to the co-main event, but he was just kind of stuck in landing his shots. He was short. He was short on a lot of his shots. All right, moving up the card. Good win for Damon Blackshear. I got that fight right. So which one did I get wrong? Or which ones did I get wrong? Roberto Romero I got wrong versus Kuwamba. Gutierrez and Castaneda I got wrong. I should have known. Got the Matt Schnell fight right. Told you. Giga and Onama fight I got wrong. Fuck that bullshit. And then Prates versus Ian Garry. Those are my 4 fights I got wrong. But, we'll get to some of those. All right, well, Chris Gutierrez, John Castaneda. Now, this is a really, really close fight. I thought Gutierrez won. I thought Castaneda won the third, and I thought Gutierrez won the first 2. You can say he won. Maybe he won on a technicality. But does that mean that the fight was fun? Absolutely not. It was a Chris Gutierrez performance. Chris Gutierrez, performance from himself. He landed 60 total strikes, tip-tapped around the whole time. He hurt Castaneda at one point, but not enough to finish the fight. And then in the third round, Castaneda just controlled the whole time and just easily won the round. And Gutierrez just narrowly edged the first 2, and that deems him the winner because Chris Gutierrez is tappy all fucking day, and it gets annoying. Yeah, I don't even want to talk anymore about that fight. That fight was boring as shit, and I was also a little bit distracted. Evan Elder versus Gage Young. This is an awesome fight. Gage Young brought it. Evan Elder really is the one who brought it. He was much more active, but so did Gage Young on short notice, going all 3 rounds. He was throwing here and there. He was holding his hands back a little bit, you could tell. First round, he wasn't as aggressive as I thought he would be. Like, generally, I think that if you're coming in on short notice on these fights, I think that you should be looking for a finish because that's really your best shot because, again, you're on a few days' notice. Like, you're not going to have the cardio for a full fight. And Gage Young kind of did, but he lost. Maybe he would have had a chance if he went for a finish early, but Evan Elder has really improved. Evan Elder looks really, really good. They both look pretty good on the feet. Gage Young had some skills in kickboxing. He looked somewhat dynamic. He had some good kicks off the back foot. But Evan Elder, man, he came to scrap. He came to go to war and to fight. And he came in there and he put on a show. It was a great performance from Evan Elder. landing combinations, clean, hitting hard, going for it, putting himself in danger. And obviously this isn't a great opponent, but Evan Elder has definitely improved. Gage Young looked very solid in this fight. So I think this is a good win for Evan Elder. UD 29-28. I think that's about what I predicted, actually. Yeah, it was just a good win from Evan Elder. Fun fight. They were both going at it with each other. Yeah, good win from Evan Elder. Moving up the card. Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick, the prelim headliner. I fucking told you guys Matt Schnell was going to get this one done. And he did. Now, why did he get it done? Because Jimmy Flick does not know how to strike. And Matt Schnell will lose by KO. That's how he'll lose. Generally, obviously. He might just get outclassed if the opponent's like a lot better than him and not a finisher. Like if he fought Asu Amaveev, which he might have already did. And I think he lost to him by decision. He might have... I'm trying to remember. I just remember. Matt Schnell... It's easy to outclass him if you're a top 10 guy. And it's easy to chin him if you know how to strike. Like in any way, shape, or form. Jimmy Flick has no idea how to strike. He doesn't intend on harming you. He was just going to shoot for the legs the whole time. And he had a lot of control time in this fight. But Matt Schnell had a lot of good reversals. He was doing really well off bottom. He had submission attempts. So did Jimmy Flick. It was an interesting fight. But Matt Schnell was just a little bit more active. And when it got on the feet, Matt Schnell was better than him. Matt Schnell is a decent striker. And against Jimmy Flick, he's going to win those exchanges. And he's probably not going to get chinned because it's Jimmy Flick. So that's why I picked Matt Schnell. And he did exactly what I thought he would do. Third round, he won a 3-round UD. Of course, it was 3 rounds. That's how long a fight is. But, I mean, yeah, it was... mid-fight, but it was interesting. I mean, it was fun. The grappling exchanges were fun. The reversals were fun. There's a lot of control time and a lot of stuff on the ground in this fight. But Matt Schnell, when they got on the feet, he was doing a lot more to try and lean the decision his way, and that's exactly what he did. Good win for Matt Schnell. He's back in the UFC. Somewhat entertaining, good fight. Happy to see him back and getting a win. Yeah, good win. All right. We're now move on to the main card. Oh, Carl Anthony Towns just hit 3. Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. This was a weird fight. Not a lot happened until the KO. Aliskerov was just kind of piecing away at him. Muniz was just completely outclassed on the feet and did not shoot for a takedown. Like, Muniz just looked terrible. He looked absolutely terrible. He looked like he should be cut and retire from the UFC. Yeah, Detroit just hit a huge 3. I'm sorry, I'm a big NBA fan, guys. But yeah, Aliskerov was just completely outclassing him on the feet. And, but it wasn't like he was, like, putting on a master class. I mean, it was still very slow-paced. He was just outclassing him because Aliskerov was a much better striker, and Andre Muniz just refused to shoot for a double leg. So I don't understand what his game plan was going into this fight. He refused to take down the striker, at least mostly a striker, Ikram Aliskerov. And then Muniz got chinned by like this weird short left hook. It was like a short left hook that came in from Aliskerov. It didn't have a lot of power on it, and that put Muniz to sleep. Like, you can tell. He was rocked, and he had no idea where he was. Now, it was kind of on the button. Like, you can tell. He got him kind of, like, on this equilibrium part, where he gets him in the middle of the head, right by your temple, but not, like, quite in your temple, just right by your temple, and you don't know where you are. And he just kind of dinged him right on the button, to be brutally honest. And, that happens in these fights. Watching it live, I'll say I questioned the stoppage. I think some people did watching it live, too, because you felt like Muniz was battling off of his back. And again, there was 7 seconds left in the round. This needs to be taken into account for fights. But watching it back, I think it was a good stoppage. To be brutally honest, Muniz was Wow, the Knicks just took a lead with 40 seconds left. I know. All right, I need to focus on this. Andre Meniz, he just went down after that, and I mean, you could tell his head was getting bounced off the canvas by some of those punches from Alaskarov on the ground and pound, and he didn't look all that good. And then about 30 seconds after the fight, I was like, that's a good stoppage, because also looking at Meniz's body language on the ground after the KO, he was just laying on the ground for a while. Like, he was not getting up. He was just kind of staring. Like, you can tell, like, he was very hurt. So, good stoppage, ultimately. Good win for Mikram Alaskarov. But Andre Meniz looked terrible. So maybe, Alaskarov made him look terrible. The same way Garry and Carlos Prates looked terrible. But yeah. So, Meniz should fucking fight Dana White's Contender Series guy or get the fuck out because he looked terrible. But a good win from Alaskarov. He's back on the win train. Get him in there try and get him in there in July. July, Abu Dhabi Fight Night, 3 months. Get him in there. Like, he gets a few weeks of recovery and then gets right back into camp. After a KO, give him a few weeks to rest and all that good stuff. And then get right back into it, Alaskarov. You don't have a lot of time. You're 32. Like, you have probably a good 5 years of succeeding because middleweight, you can go on a little longer. He could if he's good, he can make it another 5-6 years. He's got to get close to those rankings now if he wants to cement himself a legacy. So I think Alaskarov should try and get back in there by the Abu Dhabi Fight Night in July, but I could see him waiting for the October pay-per-view because that's how a lot of these guys like to do their schedule. All right, moving up the card, Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby, the fight of the night. This fight was fucking crazy. No one ever KO'd Nicholas Dalby, ever. So fantastic accomplishment from Randy Brown. Did not see that coming. I thought this would be interesting. I just didn't see it being a finish, and I thought Randy Brown was gonna win it. His style of a fight. But he was doing a little bit more. Randy Brown will have those fights where he's a little more active on the feet and he's going to piece you up with more interesting shots, and he's going to piece you up with more creative shots, and he's going to be a little bit different, and he's going to get in the pocket a little bit more, and he did that in this fight. And the first round, Brown was just kind of going his way. Now, Nicholas Dalby never stops moving, never stops coming at you, never stops planning to throw something. Like, he's always, whether or not he just got hit, he is almost always planning to throw something. The only time he didn't in this fight is when fucking Randy Brown broke his nose in the first round. You could see it. Brown broke his nose. I think it was midway through the first, and Dalby immediately, he took a few steps back, almost a little bit like Strickland, but he didn't, kind of crumble like Strickland did. He just kind of, he stepped back, and you could tell he was you could tell he was dealing with something in his nose. I think he's, almost, swiped at it at one point. But yeah, and his eye was swollen pretty bad. The Cutman did a really good job going into the second round with his nose, but ultimately he was hurt. His nose was damaged. He was bleeding a lot, and Randy Brown put a lot of damage on him. But then, as soon as Dalby breaks his fucking nose, he drops Randy Brown, hurts him bad. And Randy Brown, he recovered. He recovered and made it back into the fight. And that is when it really became a war. Once Brown got hurt, because then Brown was, a little bit rocked. So when he got back up, generally what happens when you get rocked and you get back up and you're recovering and you're the striker that likes to keep it at distance, I noticed this. A lot of guys like to close the distance all of a sudden, and then they try to scrap with you. Some can do it, some can't. And Randy Brown in the second round, he was starting to go back to his pace a little bit more, but then as he started picking apart Nicholas Dalby, Dalby knew, I can't fucking do this anymore. The final 45 seconds, he is chasing down Randy Brown. And, he's landing good shots, and he's landing harder shots, and, showing effect on Randy Brown. But then they get into just some fucking crazy-ass boxing exchanges, Holloway Gaethje-esque. And then the KO was very similar as well, where Brown kind of, missed a left hook, and then he kind of went back down and loaded back up, and then he fired the right hook over the top and absolutely slept Nicholas Dalby face down into the canvas. Unbelievable KO. Absolute cinema. First man to finish Nicholas Dalby. Despite him being 40, I think that's still impressive, being the first guy to finish somebody. This guy has no idea what it's like to be finished, and you're the first one to do it. Randy Brown, a lot of people were calling that he should fight a ranked guy next. I kind of agree. The Bryan Battle fight was very, very close. He's had good ranked fights before, Randy Brown has. And winning this fight the way he did, I think it'd be fair to give him a ranked guy. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to give him a ranked guy for sure. Holy shit. Pistons got fouled. 11 seconds left. All right, moving up the card. Fantastic win from Randy Brown. Fantastic win. Moving up the card. 4 fights left. Michel Pereira versus Abu Magomedov. All right, I got this one wrong, guys. I got the pick right. I picked Abu. Got the Abu win. I knew he was gonna win this fight, but Michel Pereira looked terrible. Worst he's looked at middleweight. Even, I mean, maybe not the, if we're going to include late in the fluffy fight, I understand it. But also, Michel Pereira, he looked bad from the beginning. He just did not look good against Abu Magomedov. And they were both absolutely fucking dying. I mean, one of them nearly died of cardiac arrest. Actually, in the third round, I remember, Abu was about to finish Michel Pereira, and then he just kind of walked away and didn't really try to finish him at that point. And then he collapsed on the ground and, said, "I have a heart attack," and then Michel Pereira did a backflip and then had a cardiac arrest and started seizing up on the ground. After that, no, that didn't actually happen, but yeah, good win from Abu Magomedov. No. Yeah, it was a win. Abu's going to be a ranked middleweight now. Maybe after that performance, but they both didn't look that good, but Abu just looked slightly better. And I'll say this, Abu's he's just more consistent than Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira has a lot of issues with consistency, and he looked terrible tonight. So we'll see who ends up fighting next. We'll see what he does next, but yeah, good, decent win from Abu, but both guys did not put on a good performance. We're going to move up the card. Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. We're not going to talk long about this fight either. I thought Giga should have won, ultimately. David Onama did win. If we, the same way Mario Bautista beat Jose Aldo, in the same way that Rob beat Sean O'Malley. No, I'm not going to say that. That's not how it works. But, I felt that Giga was much more impressive in this fight. It was a close fight, but, yeah, sorry, I had to pause my recording there. I watched the end of that Pistons game, and Pistons low-key got fucking cooked by the refs. Alright, they didn't call the foul in the 3 when they were down a point. But we're going to talk about David Onama versus Giga Chikadze because this fight was just so entertaining, guys! No. Giga was doing a lot better on the feet. He looked better on the feet than David Onama. He was having more success on the feet than David Onama, and David Onama was being boring and attempting takedowns, and, he had control time against the cage, and, he's stalling out fights, and that wins you fights now. So, great win from David Onama. He's now going to be ranked. Him and Yusuf Zalal, the two buddies, they should go and fight each other so one of them fucking dies. Who will accidentally fall out of the octagon first because they're running too much? Who will accidentally hurt themselves first because they won't hurt their opponent? That is the storyline we need for that fight. So, get David Onama versus Yusuf Zalal in there with each other so hopefully one of them dies, and then we just have one of them to deal with at the top of the division, and then we can, or we just, match Yusuf Zalal against fucking, Gene Silva, and then we match David Onama with, Josh Emmett. Alright, guys, I think that'd be a good, I think that'd be good matchups for those guys. Moving up the card. Giga, he looked good. His striking was clearly higher level. But yeah, I don't know. Dull fight. Moving up the card. Anthony Smith versus Zhang Mingyang. Guys, we got one final masterclass from Anthony Smith. We got one more ass whooping from Anthony Smith. It was amazing to watch. Legendary. Unbelievable. Cinema. War. Anthony Smith put it all out there. He got this, a 6-minute retirement package. Like, I looked away and I was doing something, and then I looked back up and they were still going. I'm like, damn, they're still going? He was still in the goddamn octagon. I mean, they were doing talking about him for 2 minutes before the even fight. Like, the decision got announced where he lost by KO. And then he got some 5-minute retirement package at the end of the fight. I mean, this was the greatest retirement send-off I've ever seen from any fighter ever. Is what it felt like. And it was to Lionheart, man. Lionheart, he never gave up. He put it all out there in that fight. He got Zhang right where he wanted him. Towards the end there. He just wasn't able to pull through. Just wasn't quite able to pull through. It wasn't his night. 5 years ago, that's a beatable opponent. So I consider this a win for Anthony Smith. Yeah. Great win from Anthony Smith, guys. What a legend. The way that he just gets on the ground and grabs Ming Yang's legs to avoid getting punched is just so tactical and smart. And then the way he just it sits on his hands and knees as he gets fucking elbowed in the back of the head. No, wait, he didn't get elbowed in the back. Wait. He might have got elbowed in the back of the head. He was getting ground and pounded in the back of the head. And, it just wasn't his night, guys. He was really tactically trying to put Zhang in where he wanted him. And Smith had him there. But I don't know why, the ref pulled him off. I guess that cut just made it look like Smith was losing. So, yeah. Yeah, good win from Anthony Smith. All right. In reality, I'll just be quick with this. Zhang Mingyang, he proved me wrong. I thought he wasn't going to get the first round finish streak. He kept it. Great job. He looked amazing in this fight. Anthony Smith, his only striking on the feet was when he would grab Zhang Mingyang, because literally Anthony Smith did not try and throw one goddamn punch in this fight. Anthony Smith would stand there in kickboxing range and would go, that's what he was doing. That's all he did in this entire fight until he got on the ground and did his classic fetal position and got absolutely fucking murdered by Zhang Mingyang. Classic Smith performance. So happy. Wish we could see more of these. He's gone though forever. Rest in peace, Anthony Lion Sharp. Yeah. All right. Moving up the card, main event. All right. A lot of people have their takes on this fight. I've seen a lot of different takes. And I feel a lot of them are more extreme one way or the other. A lot of them are shitting on Ian Garry for running away and being a little bit of a coward and not really fighting effectively. And then some of them are dick riding him because he put on just a masterclass against Carlos Prates, guys. No. This was an arguable 3-2 decision from Ian Garry. Maybe 4-1, but you could definitely score it 3-2. I think round 1, 2, and 3 were obviously Ian Garry's. Round 4 was possibly Carlos Prates just from the last minute, but I would probably still give it to Ian Garry just because you have to remember that the first 4 minutes of the round, Garry was winning pretty obviously. But Carlos Prates, he put on the pace in the 4th round, and, he nearly, he hurt Ian in moments. And then the 5th round was definitely Prates Prates' round. I'm debating on how I want to break this down because there's a lot of different things. If I want to do round by round, if I just want to start with what both fighters did well. Let's start with that. Carlos Prates, what did you do well? He conserved his energy, guys. He looked good in the 4th and 5th round as a cigarette smoker, so I think cigarettes are fake in terms of the effect that they actually do on you. All the stuff you hear about them, that it kills you and gives you lung cancer. Guys, none of that's real. It's all fake. Carlos Prates, and that affects your lungs. Yeah, bullshit. Carlos Prates completely just out-cardioed Ian Garry in a 5-round fight. Now, it was Ian Garry on short notice, but he should still not be out-cardioing you, Ian Garry. But he also conserved his energy too much, but, I'll get into that when I talk about the negatives, because I gotta talk about the good things. Carlos nearly finished him in the 5th, guys. Ian Garry, what did you do well? Ian Garry. Okay. Actually, here's what I have to say about Ian Garry's performance. Yes, he was on the back foot. Yes, he wasn't fully intending on throwing a lot of his strikes to KO Carlos Prates. He landed 140 total strikes and 120 significant strikes in this fight. I think probably 20 of them were in attempt to knock out Carlos Prates. Maybe 30. Now, Ian was kind of being a bitch. Anytime Carlos would get in range, he would immediately shoot for a takedown and fail it. Carlos Prates did an amazing job at defending takedowns in this fight. At any time that he didn't defend the takedown, he got right back up or he'd reverse on Ian Garry. Now, Ian Garry's performance was very solid. Like, I'm going to be real, guys, and you might hate me for this take, but if that's Volk doing what he just did, you would praise the shit out of him all week like we just did. His performance against Diego was more entertaining, yes, and was more active than this fight, but not by much. I mean, he didn't land many more strikes than Ian Garry landed in this fight. Ian Garry in rounds 2 and 3 was being active. He was landing good shots. He was landing combos on Carlos Prates. I thought he was going to KO Carlos Prates. After the 3rd round, I was thinking, I could see Ian Garry TKOing him this round. Going into it. I really did. From the performance, I mean, he hurt Prates bad with an uppercut at one point. He was landing good combos on him. His high kick was there, and Prates was only defending it, really. Like, he was doing the forearm, and he was kind of slapping at it with the right hand, but the right hand, and his left arm was up there, and that's the hand he didn't throw. MMA Guru said this. It's possible he might have broken his forearm on the head kick because, he was defending a lot of them just with the hand like this. And when you do that, when you have it up here, it's very possible that if it gets you on your forearm, it will break your forearm, especially from a guy like Ian Garry who kicks a lot and kicks hard. So that could have happened, and his left hand is his biggest weapon on the feet, to be brutally honest. He likes to fire his kicks to set up his punches, and then his left hand is generally what he goes to. He did not fire the left hand at all in this fight. But Ian Garry put on a pretty good performance. 2nd and 3rd round were fantastic rounds for Ian Garry. He was doing really well on the feet, landing really good strikes, putting together combinations, and he looked really good. Now, here are the negatives about Ian Garry's performance. Anytime Carlos Prates got in range, he would shoot for a takedown like a bitch, and it would be a sad-looking double leg. And something else that was frustrating was listening to Ian Garry's corner say, "Don't throw too hard. Don't try and, nothing big. He literally said that, nothing big. He said, bang, bang, then big. He's obviously saying, put power on the end of your combinations. Hit him with a 1, 2, 3, power on the 3rd one. 1, 2, just stick it out there. 1, 2, 3, and then, hide a hook behind it, or 1, 2, and then slip. Uppercut is where you actually put the power. I get what he's trying to say, but the way it comes off, nothing big. It just seems very, you're not trying to actually enforce a fight. You're not trying to actually go to fight somebody. You're kind of just tapping at them for a lot of the strikes. So it shows that Ian Garry did not have clear intent by a lot of his shots. That was a really frustrating part of the fight. Round 4. Ian Garry looked solid. It was a little more similar to round 1, I felt like. But he still was winning the round, Ian Garry. He wasn't landing quite as much. You could tell that he had slowed down. Like, Ian Garry definitely slowed down in this fight, and Carlos Prates out-cardioed him. Never would have predicted that. But Carlos Prates, I need to get into his performance, too, because a lot of people were just shitting on Ian Garry and being like, Carlos is still really good, guys. You know, because of the bias that they have. And I'm giving this... I like Carlos Prates as much as the next guy. I like him more than Ian Garry, obviously. Did I want Carlos Prates to sleep Ian Garry? Absolutely. But we have to be unbiased on this performance. This was a very good performance from Ian Garry, especially in rounds 2 and 3. And Carlos Prates looked like shit. Because unless he broke his forearm in the first minute, there was no explanation for why he didn't throw any actual detrimental strikes in the first, second, third rounds. Literally nothing. Like, Carlos Prates, I was just getting so confused. 2 minutes in, I'm watching this and I'm like, he hasn't thrown anything. What's going on? Like, this is not his pace at all. And I started noticing this is Ian Garry's pace. This is what he does. And yeah. Carlos Prates did not throw. I mean, he just went in there without the intent to fucking kill Ian Garry. Like he said, this was just a really disappointing performance from him. Really disappointing. And I felt it was kind of sad. I didn't really think this was a good fight from Carlos Prates. I mean, it wasn't a good performance at all. First round, he didn't throw shit. He looked, he would throw a lazy body kick, and it would, like, occasionally land on the end of Ian Garry's body, or Ian would just block it and push it down. And then Prates would just plod into boxing range, and he plods, and Ian Garry noticed that. And Ian Garry was using his lateral movement to get out of the way and keep moving back and backing up. And obviously, that makes people upset. Now, the issue is, Ian Garry was backing up. It wasn't like he was purely avoiding the fight. He was just staying on the back foot because that's what he does. Since he's become a ranked fighter, he's changed his style to be a back foot fighter. He's not going to be the guy who marches you down anymore. That's what he was in the unranked scene. As soon as he finished Daniel Rodriguez and he fought Neil Magny, that was when the whole flip switched. That's when he started becoming this counter striker, slow pace guy who's not going to lead the dance. And he was leading the dance in more cases than not in this fight, because Carlos Prates would plod in and get into boxing range, and he wouldn't throw. He would not throw in any way. And I understand he's fearing that Gary's going to try and counter him, because that's what Garry likes to do. He's fearing that Gary's going to move out of the way, and he's going to overthrow and completely swing and miss, and then be wide open for a potential shot. Prates had a lot of things to worry about. But when you march into boxing range, and you're plotting there, and you get into the range, you need to throw. That is Prates' range. That is his spot. That is where he wants you. He had Garry against the cage multiple times, even early. And he would just plod into the range, and he wouldn't fire. He was gun shy. And then he would bounce out of range, and then he's like, all right, now I'm in Ian Garry's range. Body kick. Leg kick. Inside leg kick. Yeah. And that's all he would land. And every time that Prates was trying to punch Garry, a lot of it, he wasn't getting in the boxing range first, like he was earlier when he wouldn't throw. He would just kind of fire it away at a similar distance than he would as he would as the body kick. Like, it was just confusing. I just didn't understand Carlos's game plan going into the fight, how he would get into his range that would win him the fight, and he wouldn't throw. He lost that range. And then he would go back to Ian Garry's range, and he's never going to beat Ian Garry at Ian Garry's game. He's just not going to. He's too talented and too fast to be able to do that. Prates had to put him out. Or just attack him. And now I want to talk about the 5th round. I want to talk about the last minute of the 5th round. Nothing else. Okay. So Ian noticeably slowed down. Like I said, at the end of the fight, he noticeably slowed down, and Prates still had momentum. And he won the 5th round after the way he closed out the 4th round. He had a lot of momentum going into the 5th, went out there, and he put it on Ian Garry for a lot more of the 5th. But it was in the last minute, Ian Garry shot some pathetic-ass takedown after getting hit by Carlos Prates, and Gary's nose was busted up. He was hurting, I should say. He wasn't hurt, Oh, he's hurt! It was more just like he was hurting, obviously. But he shoots some sad double leg and gets completely reversed by Carlos Prates after he gets a takedown. Prates gets back, reverses it, and gets into the ground and pound position. And he lands a bunch of hammer fists on Ian Garry and starts, bouncing his head off the canvas. And Garry, looks lost. And then Prates starts, jamming punches into Gary's face, pushing his head into the canvas. And Garry is, rocked. Because Prates then, with about 30 seconds left, stands up. And it looks like he's trying to finish it. And he's, Gary's, crumpled up on the ground as Prates is trying to finish it. Prates then stands up, and Garry starts crawling to the corner of the cage like he's about to watch his wife get railed. And he's laying there, literally on his hands and knees, in a crouched position. And Prates throws maybe 10 more strikes the rest of the fight. He was giving back shots to Ian Garry at one point in their position, and he just had, Garry was all over the place. You could see it. He was done. He was hurt. If Prates landed a few more hammer fists, he wins that fight by TKO. And this fucking, Carlos Prates, it's not his cardio. It's not his takedown defense. It's not his grappling. It's nothing. It's not his skill. It's his IQ. He is dumb. He is absolutely dumb. He fumbled it. So hard. Just sad to see that be the way that this fight got finished. I don't care what you heard in the mic there. I'm just thinking about it makes me so mad. I was just yelling at the TV oh, he's hurt! Go after it! And he's just not. I was just shocked at the end of the fight. I'm I didn't even say anything. The final 10, 15 seconds because I'm just shocked. Because then they get back on the feet. There's 15 seconds left. Prates lets him on the feet because he's tired. And he throws one punch, 2 punches. And Gary's just running away. And Prates just doesn't care. He looks like he just doesn't give a shit. Your pride is on the line. Your team's undefeated record, between the 4 of you, obviously, I'm not going to talk about anybody else, is on the line. Your undefeated record in the UFC is on the line. You are about to be put into a position where you can get a title eliminator fight in your next fight, Carlos Prates. And you just didn't care. Now you got to fight back down at the bottom of the rankings and work your way up. Fumbled it. Terrible from Carlos Prates. Ridiculously dumb IQ. I need to go. Ian Garry wins the fight. Very decent performance for a lot of it. nearly gets finished at the end of the 5th. He should fight Leon Edwards in Dublin. I already called this. Fight Leon in Dublin. I called this before he got booked with Prates. That is the fight to make. 110% book it. Yeah. It's absolutely the fight to make. Unless he's obviously the official backup now. He announced that in his post-fight, and Dana announced that in the post-fight presser as well. He said it is confirmed, so we'll see Ian Garry in Canada at least weighing in as the backup fighter and potentially stepping in. So we'll see. Yep. All right. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Yeah. Sorry, I got a little angry there at the end, but I think for a fair reason. That was a ridiculous fucking ending, but yeah. All right. Good one from me and Gary. That's all from me, guys. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.